my peeps, welcome back to the channel, and thank you so much for joining me on this post-Thanksgiving food baby hangover day. I hope you all had a great holiday to those who celebrate it, and in order to keep you in that food-induced comatose state, we've got a great slate of recipes to use up all those leftovers. Let me know down in the comments which one of these, if any, you try out for yourselves, and let's get right into this one. Starting us off strong today is this Speedy shepherd's pie from the YouTube channel Well Done. And to make that, I grabbed some paprika and Worcestershire sauce, beef stock and cornstarch, tomato paste and fried onions, leftover mashed potatoes and ground beef, frozen peas, a yellow onion, salt and pepper, carrots, and garlic. And for my purposes here today, I totally didn't have to whip up some instant boxed potatoes because I might not have had enough. After all, Steven was at my Thanksgiving meal, and that boy might look small, but surely he can eat. But welcome back to another one of these Thanksgiving leftover videos, peeps. If you remember any number of these, shout outs to you. This is actually the longest running series on this channel, even more so than the peppermint videos or the pumpkin spice ones. If I'm not mistaken, this is the 8th one, which is kind of wild to think about. Looking back at that first one in 2016, one could say things have changed. I finally unbuttoned my damn shirt and covered up that horrific hairline. I guess I finally received one too many McDonald's logo comparisons from you bullies. And over the years, we've done tons of these recipes, from that pizza, from the turkey and cranberry hand pies. I wanted to pick recipes that actually use a lot of your leftovers to make a whole new meal, rather than just a few tablespoons of mashed potato to make some pancakes. Like, at least in my family, we always have tons of leftovers, and I think this first recipe is perfect. I whipped up the very simple shepherd's pie base, that being lots of our fresh aromatics, the garlic, the celery and onion, browned off some of the ground beef, and then combined the two, added some saucy flavor with a beef stock cornstarch slurry, some of the Worcestershire sauce, and of course some seasoning and the frozen peas. And then that just gets layered down in a glass pan with a healthy amount of your leftover mashed potatoes on top, some of those fried onions, and then baked off in a very hot oven until you get some browning. This would also be a great way to use up any leftover French fried or freeze-dried onions that us European descendants love to put on a green bean casserole or a sweet potato. And just a few minutes of baking later, this was smelling awesome. I feel like I could eat that meat mix alone with a spoon, so let's give it a taste. Could I have left this in the oven for a few more minutes? I'm thinking yes, but it's heated all the way through, and I think they only said 5 minutes in their video. It's good. It tastes exactly as you imagine. There's nothing extravagant about it. I think there's a reason they call it a Speedy shepherd's pie. When I made the meat mix, it took everything within me to not splash some red wine in there, some fresh herbs. It could really use it, and I know it's not traditional, but I feel like this thing is screaming for a sprinkle of cayenne or some kind of heat for balance. It's kind of reminiscent of Quantumania for my Marvel fans. It's like fine and passable, but 5 minutes later, you're forgetting about it. For today's second leftover course, we've got this Vietnamese turkey soup, whose name is the only thing harder for Americans to say than universal basic healthcare. Vietnamese pho. I grabbed some sriracha and soy sauce, cinnamon sticks, salt and sugar, rice noodles, bean sprouts and hoisin, whole fennel and coriander seeds, star anise and cardamom, whole cloves and onion, some fresh ginger, lime, and cilantro, your leftover turkin, and some green onions. And now, as with a lot of years past, I am making this one prior to Thanksgiving. That's the reason I had to sub in some rotisserie chicken rather than leftover turkey. And complete side note, on what planet did rotisserie chickens from the grocery store become single serve? I feel like they used to be $5 for a huge one for the whole family. Now they're $7 for a damn quail. I know shrinkflation has been out of control, but this thing shrunk more than Matt Rice's fan base after that Netflix special. And if you're anything like me, when you see dishes like this, a seemingly super complex soup with a homemade stock base, something that probably simmered off for hours, you would assume this takes all day, is very labor intensive, and you'd actually be wrong. You literally fill a pot up with water, toss in your chopped up onions and ginger, as well as your leftover chicken or turkey, whip up a little spice bag with all those whole spices I showed you. That part is the only one that might be a little bit difficult to source the ingredients and then throw it all together. But if you are able to, that's literally it. You just let this simmer off for an hour or two until that chicken becomes real tender. I will say I opted to use soy sauce in this rather than the fish sauce because, to be honest, I had a little incident with my last fish sauce bottle. I dropped it, it shattered all over my floor, and my house stunk like a dirty gym bag for 2 weeks. That stuff is potent as hell and not to be played with, so I'm a little bit scarred these days. And after the activities of the last few days, and especially this time of the year as the temperature is dropping, it could not be a better time to have one of these things in front of me. This smells out of this world. It was kind of a struggle to not be tasting it as I was making it. The cilantro and lime smell alone is enough to make you salivate, but all of this together... If you've never had this before, I'm sorry for you. There is not much like it. It's almost like an herbal tea in a soup. I'm very jealous of everybody who grew up eating this because I'm convinced there is no illness that this could not cure. It's fresh and tasty while simultaneously being so warm and comforting. The black licorice notes from a lot of the dried spices is great too. And I usually don't love that flavor profile, but it works so well in this. This might be the best method of reusing leftover turkey I've ever seen because you throw the whole carcass in there, whatever's left over, it pulls every ounce of flavor out of all those bones. The chicken gets so tender and juicy. So even if your relatives like to cook their turkeys, let's say well done, it could be brought back to life in this. So good, please try it. And finally, for the last course today, I feel like we're obligated to go back to that original BuzzFeed article from nearly a decade ago now, and is also now half in German and looks like a broken link, so this thing's like an archived dinosaur. But we've done most of the things on that, from the pizza, to the hand pies, to the quesadilla, and I think one of the last really good looking ones we haven't tried is this crepe from butterwithasideofbread.com. I collected some flour and sherry, chicken stock and butter, salt, milk and leftover gravy, mashed potatoes, turkey or chicken, and some cranberry, ground sage, leftover stuffing, and a couple of eggs. Outside of the fact that this looks delicious in all of the photos on this website, this one caught my eye because I think it's the first recipe that uses every single one of the main components of a Thanksgiving meal. The stuffing of the crepe is going to be the stuffing and your chicken or turkey, but the crepe itself is made with the leftover mashed potatoes. The garnish is gonna be the cranberry sauce, and then the gravy gets repurposed and thinned out, basically, with some more chicken stock, a little sprinkling of the ground sage. And while I finish out the prep for everything for this last one, I just want to take a moment to say I am most thankful for all of you peeps this year.
And
all of my Instagram followers.
And
my lovely friends and family. And my lovely Steven. He's gonna be in the taste test for this one, so stick around. On a real note though, this year has been a roller coaster in more ways than one, but especially with my YouTube career. There's been a couple times where things weren't going the best, stuff has rebounded recently, but again, thank you all so much for sticking around for so long. One by one, I began to pour out some batter and very gently try to spread it around the pan. Give it a few minutes to cook, give it a flip, and no. I always forget how crap this nonstick pan is. I think the coating is just shot. So I'm not even gonna play games with that. I dug out my expensive one that I got for the omakase a few months ago. How about a second and third and fourth attempt on our new pan? I don't know what's going on. I don't know why this is so hard. I've been cooking for a living for too many years for this to be as challenging as it is. I was trying different heats, I've tried different pans, and I finally had a eureka moment when I realized it didn't need all that butter. I think there was just too much fat in the pan, and it was mixing with the crepe batter and not allowing it to hold together as it cooked. I will say, I still don't think this would have worked without this pan, so good luck. They're a very difficult thing to figure out, but once you got them, you kind of got them. I also don't know how I never realized this, but midway through, I realized these are essentially French enchiladas. The way you lay everything in there and wrap them up, but once this got a topping of the gravy and the cranberry, all I can say is, wow. I mean, show me a better, more efficient way to reuse every one of the big 5 components of your Thanksgiving meal. This might be an all-timer. Let's see how the flavors stack up. Yeah, so this is a winner. It's actually so good, it might have to make its way to Thanksgiving itself because it's every single component you love, but it's in a perfect bite every time. The crepes took me a while to master, I'm not gonna lie to you, but once I finally did, they are perfect. They have a little bit of crisp around the outside. It's also obviously only gonna be as good as your actual Thanksgiving food is. So season your stuffing well, make sure your turkey's not dry. It's been a while. I didn't think it was gonna work for a long time. No butter in the pan, or very little, because it messes up the flippability of the crepe.
This is Thanksgiving wrapped in one. Cranberry sauce, always adding in some sweetness. Sweet and savory together every time.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, I love it. Thank you.
With the M without the AD. Flipping burgers and my money super lazy. Try and make a meal tonight, they ain't paying me. Try and supersize my life with my 18. Yeah, our style wasn't wavy, but we had a vision.
You should open a food truck.
No.
I'm telling you, you'd have a list. You would never open a food truck.
Nope.
Why not?
I worked in a restaurant for many years.
All right.
That was
I'm
enough
just
for me.
saying, you have enough interesting stuff to put on the menu.